Well, I'm a journalist making believe I'm an academic. I remember being in high school watching the CBS Evening News, an American television news show.
Those reports of progress came after a special meeting of the Israeli cabinet.
And seeing the then Middle East correspondent doing a stand-up on the Golan Heights. And I said, that's the job I want.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather.
When you're an international journalist, you're traveling constantly. So when I was working for CBS, I was Middle East correspondent, and I would live on airplanes. I'd be in Iraq one day, and Sudan the next day, and South Africa a week later. So there was always a different story, always something different and interesting to report about, and it's an exciting way to live. What makes me most passionate is helping Americans to understand the impact of American policy. Here in Georgia, the impact, as I've seen it, the impact of U.S. policy has largely been positive. I think most Georgians like the way the U.S. supported Georgia. But in the Middle East, in the broader Muslim world, that's not the case. And Americans don't always realize how people perceive their policies. Hello, I'm Lawrence Pintak, founding dean of the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication here at Washington State University. Transformation, that's the nature of the media landscape these days. When I became a journalist, I didn't need to learn how to shoot a camera. I was a TV journalist, but I didn't need to know how to shoot a camera. You need to be a good reporter, you need to be a good writer, you need to be able to be accurate and gather information. You need to know how to shoot it, you need to know how to edit it, you need to know how to put it all together and feed it to wherever it's going. What is the primary mission of journalism? What's the mission of journalism?
To tell the truth. Keep the government accountable to public. It's not important to be first, but to be true.
Everybody wants to be a columnist. Everybody wants to be, or in more modern terms, a blogger, right? Giving their opinion. Well, that's easy to do. It's a lot harder to go out and find out what one side is saying and what the other side is saying and present those facts and present the two sides and give a balanced story. And that's the most important thing for a journalism student to learn. And you can't be a journalist just learning the theory. You have to do it. And do it again, and do it again, and make the mistakes while you're in university, and learn from the mistakes under the guidance of their teachers, so that when they go out into the profession, they make fewer mistakes. Still make mistakes, but they make fewer mistakes.
I want to know whether or not we have heard on Al Jazeera those non-urban voices commenting on the protests.
Well, I think you've seen some of it. Certainly the protests, the urban centers, have been the dominant coverage. Journalism is different also according to the state of political evolution of a country or a region. So if you live in a completely free society, an absolute democracy, or as close as you get these days to an absolute democracy, it's easy to say, I'm not going to take a political position, I'm going to be balanced and fair and unbiased. But if you're in a place where government is still oppressive or still corrupt or still exploiting the people, journalists tend to be campaigners and crusaders because they want to help the people. So they tend to be more political. I find very inspiring going around the world, places like Georgia where there's an emerging media, where the controls on the media are loosening, and suddenly you have young journalists or young students who want to be journalists, and the whole profession is changing. While in the U.S. people talk about the death of journalism, which isn't happening, here journalism is exploding, and that's very exciting.